You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
Hey! Welcome back and thank you very much for joining me. My name is Swartik Mayanja, and on this channel I bring you news, research, current events, fun topics for nurses everywhere. Today a couple of sad stories, but let's jump right into it. So first story of the day, a nurse, Alex Wubbels, a nurse in Salt Lake City, Utah, at University Hospital, was literally dragged out by a police officer because she would not give him a vial, she would not take blood from a patient who was unconscious. She would not take blood from an unconscious patient unlawfully, and she's the one who got dragged out of the hospital. It enrages me, but you know what? Just watch the video and we'll be right back.
I have this, it says obtaining blood samples for police enforcement from patients suspected to be under the influence. Okay? This is something that you guys agreed to with this hospital. The three things that allow us to do that are if you have an electronic warrant, patient consent, or patient under arrest. And neither of those things, the patient can't consent. He's told me repeatedly that he doesn't have a warrant, and the patient is not under arrest. So I'm just trying to do what I'm supposed to do. That's all. So.
Okay, so I take it without those in place, I'm not going to get blood. Is that, am I fair to surmise that?
Alex, you're not representing
Yeah,
Okay.
Why is he continuing to blame you?
I don't know. I have no idea why he's blaming me. I'm just representing.
Why are you blaming the messenger, sir?
She's the one that has told me no.
Yeah, but sir, you're making a huge mistake right now.
Okay.
Like you're making a huge mistake because you're threatening a nurse.
Okay. No, we're done. We're done. You're under arrest. We're going. We're done.
Sir,
We're done. I said we're done. I said we're done. I said we're done.
Hey. I have administration on the way. Sir, hey, please. Whoa. I have
Okay.
administration.
She can sit in my car while they're coming.
So yes, that video, it's kind of scary. I mean, you see the whole thing play out and you're like, oh, maybe he's not going to be doing what I think he's going to be doing, because what he's going to be doing sounds kind of insane when you see her with the paper, with the policy saying, I can't do this, you need to get a warrant. But forget about it. Forget about this. I don't understand these cops. All right, so let's back up here. So Detective Payne was the officer who dragged the nurse out of the hospital, and he is part of the Salt Lake City police, officers in that town. But before we even talk about the situation that happened in the actual hospital, I want to tell you what the whole situation was about and why the officers were in the hospital at all. So the incident began when a truck driver was severely burned in a head-on crash with a vehicle that was fleeing from police in Cache County, then crossed into oncoming traffic. The driver of the fleeing vehicle was killed. So the perpetrator, the actual criminal, the bad guy, died in the actual crash. The person that's in the hospital is an unconscious victim at this point. But the reason that the officer wanted the blood is because he was sedated. Continuing on, the truck driver was sedated and in a comatose state when he arrived at the hospital. Payne, a veteran Salt Lake police officer, was sent to the hospital by another police agency to get vials of blood for the investigation. But because the patient was not a suspect in the crash, nor faced potential criminal charges because he was unconscious and unable to give consent, and because the officer did not have a warrant, Alex Wubbels, the night supervisor, did not allow him to draw the blood. And this enraged him, obviously, for reasons I don't understand. I don't get it. You're a law enforcement officer, right? You know clearly as day you can't do, as a nurse, as a healthcare provider, you can't perform tasks on patients without their consent. The patient is unconscious. All we can do is give him the help we think is best for him until he wakes up. We can't do any treatments. We can't be cutting off legs and doing all this crazy stuff without the patient's consent. correct? Yeah, so the police officer, wants the nurse to do something that's illegal to help him out because he's concerned that what the patient did was illegal. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand the reasoning here, right? Is this his first time ever doing this? What kind of drugs can be into this patient that they disappear in an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours? I don't know how long it takes to get a warrant, but if they seriously considering him as the perpetrator, maybe they could just go run to the judge or call the judge. And even in the video, you can see the nurse says electronic warrant. So she just needs to email something. Goddamn, it's 21st century. If they need to do the fax, they can do the fax. To drag the nurse out the hospital when she literally has the supervisor in one hand on the phone and has the policy of the hospital in the other, the agreement that they have with the police officers in that county, for him to still go ahead and be so enraged that she wouldn't listen to every order that he commanded is crazy. It is just crazy. It gets me boiled up, right? So I know people are going to say that's just the one bad police officer. And if it is the one bad police officer, okay, it's the one bad police officer. I will give you that. But if you watch this video, the other police officer with him kind of just follows him around. The camcorder, the body cam on the police officer that we're watching the entire thing through, just follows them around. Do any of them have the common sense to say, all right, time out. Right now we are harassing a nurse that's taking care of a patient. Right? Like, did no one in like the 3 police officers that were at the situation, not a single one of them thought, maybe this is a bad idea. Let's just go get the goddamn warrant. If they want him this bad, if they want the blood this bad, let's just go get the warrant. Or let's just stay here with the patient and one of us could go get the warrant. What are they afraid of? Do they really think that the nurse, Miss Wubbles, is actually going to like try to protect the victim? Like, it's confusing. It's frustrating. I don't know what they were thinking. All I'm saying is it's too much and they need to calm down. It's too much. It's too much. So when Alex was asked about the situation, she responded, I just feel betrayed. I feel angry. I feel a lot of things. Wubble said during the news conference, I am still confused. I'm a healthcare worker. The only job I have is to keep my patients safe. And she has to do that according to policy. She just can't whoop-a-wee-doo decide to pull, draw blood on any patient she sees whenever she wants without getting consent, right? Like, it blows my mind as a law enforcement officer that's going after a nurse like that. That I never thought I would see that. You hear these crazy stories about these police officers who are on their power high, who just wanted to be bullies, but I don't even understand that. What was he scared of? What was he afraid of? What did he think was going to happen if he just left to go get the warrant, or if he sent someone to go get the warrant? What's the issue? So I don't understand him, but just to finish us off, to let you know what the situation is with Mr. Payne, sir, is that he is still actually on active duty with the Salt Lake City Police despite being suspended from the blood draw program, which I think is good news for everybody. The last thing we want is Mr. Guns Blazing over here to come in the hospital and start yelling orders like he knows like how shit works. It's crazy. Right, and I think she's super brave, right? Because as I'm a brand new nurse, and all I know throughout nursing school, and as a nurse right now, every single nurse, every single nursing professor, every single colleague of mine, every manager, supervisor, they beat it into your head. Policy, 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 policy. Because if you follow the policy, if something goes wrong, if some mishap happens, you can always say, this is the policy of the thing, and I was following it by the T. I did this, this, and this. And then if you are in court, if there's a situation, if you are liable for something, at least you have the policy go through, and then it's not just you, it's the actual hospital, and it's a bigger issue. What I'm trying to say is she did the right thing. She did absolutely nothing wrong. She had the supervisor on the phone. She had the policy in her hand. She was explaining to it in the most calm and collective manner possible. This cop just could not comprehend a human being saying no to him. He just could not comprehend it. It's insane. It's insane. So I'm infuriated, but let's move on from that story. Best wishes to Alex Wubbles. I'm happy. She was released. She just sat in the car for, I think, maybe like 20-30 minutes, and then they let her go. No charges have been pressed. They're doing an internal affairs investigation on Officer Payne. I don't know if I want him to get in like super bad trouble. I think, and she said this, and I read it in a few places, that she doesn't want anything bad to happen to him. What she wants is them to have some training. The whole point is to de-escalate. Cops are there to de-escalate situations, and he was escalating everything. He went from 0 to 100. She was talking so clearly, so calmly. No one was yelling. No one was, being offensive or anything. He was the guy. He was it. Just him alone. Him alone. Not even the other cops in the situation. Him alone was the instigator of that entire situation.